Okay, same day, part 2, Nanda Maharaj meeting Vasudeva, chapter 5. Okay. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Nanda Maharaj was naturally very magnanimous, and when Lord Krishna appeared as his son, he was overwhelmed by jubilation. Therefore, after bathing and purifying himself and dressing himself properly, he invited Brahmanas who knew how to recite Vedic mantras. After having these qualified Brahmanas recite auspicious Vedic hymns, he arranged to have the Vedic birth ceremony celebrated for his newborn child according to the rules and regulations, and he also arranged for worship of the demigods and forefathers. Now, this purport is going to give all this secret information that Gurudev used to always say, but because it wasn't directly in the Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada kept it a little covered, so as not to, he followed the mood of Shukadev Goswami and other commentators, but Visvanath Cakravarti Thakur is going to, as the Jiva Goswami, unpack it for those who have been exposed. Because the verse says, Nandas tvat maja utpane jato lado mahamana ahuya vipran vedagyan snata shuchir alankrita. That's more. So, this chapter describes the festivities at Krishna's birth, going to Mathura to pay tax, and the conversation between Nanda and Vasudeva. Although Vasudeva was completely overjoyed over the birth of his son, due to fear of Kamsa, he could not celebrate the birth in Mathura with the Jata Karma ceremony, the cutting of the umbilical cord. See, that's in this verse, Jata Lado. It's a ceremony, auspicious Vedic ceremony where they cut the umbilical cord. Nanda's Tvat Maja, the birth of Nanda's son, he takes this word, Nanda's Tvat Maja, the birth of Nanda's son. But when Nanda's son was born, he joyfully celebrated the birth with Svasti Vachana and other auspicious ceremonies. The use of the word tu indicates the difference in the birth celebration. But it also indicates that Krishna was born in Nanda's house as well as in Mathura. This proof is established in the Harivamsa. Quote, in the 8th month, on the 8th Titi, before the pregnancy was complete, both Devaki and Yasoda gave birth at the same time. So, in a hidden way, but very clear to a Rasik Vaishnava who understands Sanskrit, that tu means he's Nanda's, his son. So he's born in his house, right? And the Harivamsa gives more elaboration. Both Devaki and Yasoda took birth at the same time. The word tu is not used merely to complete the meter of the shloka, because the meaning of the sentence is complete without the word tu. So you don't need it unless it has a special purpose. Nor should it be argued that tu is a meaningless word. The natural conclusion is that the word tu means that Krishna was born from Yasoda's womb as the son of Nanda. The Jata Karma ceremony takes place only after cutting the umbilical cord. How could there be a child born with the umbilical cord already cut? Which would be the case if Krishna were Vasudeva's child. In other words, they saw the baby there, the umbilical cord was there, he took birth like an ordinary child. Umbilical cord, placenta, all of that would be there. So they saw that and they had the ceremony. The fact that Krishna is actually the son of Yasoda is mentioned in many shastras. Therefore, it should not be claimed that these statements do not represent the real meaning of the words in this verse. For example, in chapter 4, verse 9 of this Bhagavatam, Maya Devi is mentioned as Krishna's younger sister. We just heard that because she was born to Yasoda after him. Remember that? Anuja, right? born after him. In chapter 8, verse 34, Gargamuni tells Nanda Maharaj that previously Nanda's son was born in Vasudev's house. So he alludes to that. Some people take it to mean that, oh, your son, actually the son of Vasudeva, born there. Others understand the fuller meaning that he was born before also in the house of Vasudeva. In chapter 14, verse 1, Lord Brahma says that Krishna was born from a limb of Nanda. Right? Besides the Srimad Bhagavatam, other scriptures address Krishna as the son of a cowherd woman. In the Gautamiya Tantra, Krishna is called Yasoda Nandana, the son of Yasoda. Kram Deepika refers to Krishna as the son of the cowherder named Nanda, Nanda Gopa Tanaya. Poetic works describe Krishna as the son of Nanda, Nandaputra. One may argue that these names and others, such as Nanda Nandana, Subal Saka, Gopikant, are merely expressions of prema, indicating Krishna's dear submission to Nanda Maharaj. They don't necessarily prove that Krishna is the son of Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj. There are also names such as Vasudev Nandana and Arjun Saka and Rukmini Kanta, which explain prema or express it mixed with Aishvarya, majesty. And these terms are simply used to express different degrees of love. See, otherwise, Vraja should be well known as the son of Brahma. Parikshit is the son of Uttara. Thus, Krishna has different names according to mood of love. That's their argument, right? Oh, this doesn't mean that he's actually born. It only means he had that kind of loving relationship. But, Visvanath Cakravarti says, no, one cannot say, however, that Nanda and Yashoda's thinking of Krishna as their son out of love alone gives rise to these names. Because such thinking cannot overpower the actual facts. It cannot be that causeless prema is caused simply by causal thinking of things that are not true. If one thinks of Bhagavan Sri Krishna as an ordinary jiva, that doesn't make the Lord a jiva. And speaking what appears to be false, as in the pastime of Krishna, denying his eating of earth, can give rise to the highest truth for the devotee. The fact that Krishna had millions of universes in his mouth. Krishna's words, though apparently lies, actually become the highest truth. This is the most praiseworthy, worshipable, and love-inspiring for the spiritualist. So, Jatalado, he was overwhelmed in jubilation. Anyway, so he's saying that there are elements in this verse which explain facts about Krishna factually, visually having taken birth, right? As well as words which indicate Krishna's relationship with Nanda as his son. And these are not just mere expressions of prema, but relate to the previous aforementioned facts as well. So now what did Nanda Maharaj do? He gave 2 million cows completely decorated with cloth and jewels in charity to the Brahmanas. He also gave them 7 hills of grain covered with jewels and with cloth decorated with golden embroidery. In the Gopal Champu, there's a more complete description of the charity that he gave. It's astonishing. And these hills of jewels and hills of grains and all that's also described. O king, by the passing of time, land and other material possessions are purified. By bathing, the body is purified. And by being cleansed, unclean things are purified. Oh, this is good for our pujari to know. Is our pujari still here or did he go? Because he was worrying about some cloth that got touched to some bad stuff. But if you wash it, it's purified. Even if it touched some, some dust in the laundry area, if you wash it, it's pure. But by the way, if indeed you find Didi cloth in the washer and the dryer, and you want to put your own stuff in the dryer, don't just throw the Didi cloth on top of the washing machine, so you can dry your own cloth. If it's Didi cloth and you want to take it out, you have to fold it nicely and take it out of there, right? You can't just chuck it. my laundry, you can just chuck and throw in a bag. But the deities, no. So, unclean things are purified by being cleansed. The body is purified by bathing. The land and everything is purified by time, right? Sun and rain. So, by purificatory ceremonies, birth is purified. By austerity, the senses are purified. And by worship and charity offered to the brahmanas, material possessions are purified. That's why you have to give charity to the Vaishnavas, so that your things that you have and own, you're protected from the karma of those things and the attachment to those things. By satisfaction, the mind is purified. And by self-realization or Krishna consciousness, the soul is purified. So Nanda Maharaj is doing these ceremonies. And so what was going on at this time? The whole village is in a celebratory uproar. We'll hear about that tonight. The Brahmanas recited auspicious Vedic hymns, which purified the environment by their vibration. The experts in reciting old histories, like the Puranas, the experts in reciting the histories of royal families, and general reciters all chanted, while singers sang, and many kinds of musical instruments like biris and dundubis played in accompaniment. Right. Everybody was singing and glorifying. In the Gopal Champu, you're going to hear the word, instead of singers and reciters, panegyrists. You ever heard the word panegyrist before? I had to look it up when I first read. I'm telling you in advance. It means a reciter, a poet, someone who does these things. Vrajapura, the residence of Nanda Maharaj, was fully decorated with varieties of festoons and flags, and in different places gates were made with varieties of flower garlands, pieces of cloth, and mango leaves. The courtyards, the gates near the roads, and everything within the rooms of the houses were perfectly swept and washed with water. That's another thing. In nice temples, they're going to have very nice decorations, like flags, flowers everywhere. We'll get pictures of Radhe Kunj. It's unbelievable what they do there. Unbelievable. Vasudev decorated and gave charity in his mind. A lot of this we should do in our mind and heart. We would like to make this temple room as opulent and beautiful as possible, the altar in so many ways. One year, we're going to have the facility and the opulence to fill the altar with flowers and do so many wonderful things. But now, let's hear the decorations that they're doing and do it in our own mind and pray to the Lord that one day that we can do that for them as well. All right? The cows and bulls and the calves were thoroughly smeared with a mixture of turmeric and oil, mixed with varieties of minerals. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. O King Parikshit, the cowherd men dressed very opulently with valuable ornaments and garments, such as coats and turbans. Decorated in this way and carrying various presentations in their hands, they approached the house of Nanda Maharaj. So everywhere from all directions, all the inhabitants of Greater Braj are coming. Brahmanas, cowherd men, everybody's coming, beautifully dressed to celebrate this ceremony. All are so happy that Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda are having this child. Because Nanda is the king of Braj. He was chosen not because he was the eldest child. Actually, Upananda was chosen. But Upananda said, no, Nanda is the most beloved of all. I would prefer that he become the king, and I'll be his advisor, his trusted advisor and friend. And everybody is very happy to hear this. And Nanda was most beloved as the ruler, and his quality was that he took care of everybody like his own children. Right? This is how rulers should be, real kings, or any group, any society, any family, who those in charge should have great love and affection for those under them and give them protection and care. Right? And so now to celebrate Nanda's good fortune, which was their good fortune. Remember, these are also Nitya Siddha associates of Krishna as well. And their joy, by Yogamaya, they don't understand, but now, after living their lives in this world in separation, he whom is the Sanakura, the object of their complete love, has appeared, and this love is welling up in their hearts in ways they've never experienced yet. And now they're all joyfully going to the house of Nanda, bringing gifts. The gopi wives of the cowherd men were very pleased to hear that Mother Yasoda had given birth to a son. And they began to decorate themselves very nicely with proper dresses, black ointment for the eyes, and so on. Their lotus-like faces, extraordinarily beautiful, being decorated with saffron and newly grown kumkum. The wives of the cowherd men hurried to the house of Mother Yasoda with presentations in their hands. Because of natural beauty, the wives had full hips and full breasts, which moved as they hurried along. So they brought what? Visvanath Cakravarti Thakur says they brought gold coins, jeweled necklaces, expensive cloth, fruits, coconut, rice, durva grass, sandalwood, garlands, on gold trays covered by gold cloth. Right? So the Vedic culture was a competition of charity. Kings would sometimes, on these auspicious occasions, give everything they had away to the brahmanas. Then the brahmanas would give everything they'd been given to the poor and to the vaishyas. And the vaishyas, overwhelmed with joy, would give to the king or to the brahmanas. Everybody, the wealth was continually cycling and always increasing because of that. In the ears of the gopis were brilliantly polished jeweled earrings, and from their necks hung metal lockets. Their hands were decorated with bangles, and their dresses were of varied colors. And from their hair, flowers fell onto the street like showers. Thus, while going to the house of Maharaja Nanda, the gopis, their earrings, breasts, and garlands moving, were brilliantly beautiful. Right? Offering blessings to the newborn child, Krsna, the wives and daughters of the cowherd men said, "May you become the king of Braj and long maintain all its inhabitants." They sprinkled a mixture of turmeric powder, oil, and water upon the birthless Supreme Lord and offered their prayers. Right? Blessings. This is Vedic culture. Seniors offer blessings and affection to juniors, right? Like the children. And because they were pious, their blessings, satya sankalpa, they had power. They could become true, right? And they're so happy. All of them are immersed in prema. Now that the all-pervading, unlimited Lord Krishna, the master of the cosmic manifestation, had arrived within the estate of Maharaja Nanda, various types of musical instruments resounded to celebrate the great festival. And Visvanath Chakravarti Thakur indicates, not just in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, but you could hear him in Swarga and earth, and even in the hellish planets. Krishna's birth is so auspicious. And for everyone, that everywhere these transcendental sounds of joy were spread. In gladness, the cowherd men enjoyed the great festival by splashing one another's bodies with a mixture of curd, condensed milk, butter, and water. They threw butter on one another and smeared it on one another's bodies. The opulence there. I mean, even if we wanted to, we couldn't afford it. Where are we going to get all that butter, all that curd, everything, right? But they had a festival. They had a butter fight, paneer fight, yogurt fight. They were throwing everything all over each other. And their expensive cloth. All of that was being done. Ghee. And the earth was getting slippery. And they're all slipping and sliding on the earth out there. And Gopal Champ was described like rivers of these substances were flowing throughout the streets from their love wars, joking wars. The great-minded Maharaja Nanda gave clothing, ornaments, and cows in charity to the cowherd men in order to please Lord Vishnu. And thus he improved the condition of his own son in all respects. Right? When you have children, you give charity on their behalf, and they get the punya, the benefit. Right? He distributed charity to the suttas, the magadas, the vandis, and men of all other professions, according to their educational qualification, and satisfied everyone's desires. Right. So, the people that would sing, the entertainers, right, all of them were getting gifts. They're all part of the culture. This is how they make their living. Whenever there's an auspicious ceremony, they come and sing and dance. But of course, these suttas and singers and panegyrists were, again, eternally liberated souls. And so there's nothing fruitive about their offering or their singing. Pure love. The most fortunate Rohini, the mother of Baladev, was honored by Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda, and thus she also dressed gorgeously and decorated herself with a necklace, a garland, and other ornaments. She was busy wandering here and there to receive the women who were guests at the festival. Right, this is also interesting, because Rohini was out there all decorated and glorious and beautiful, but she just given birth to a child 8 days prior. In Veda culture, the wife doesn't leave the maternity room for some time. They stay in the house for 30 days. But this is such a transcendental festival, and Rohini, being the eternal mother of the Lord, was so joyous. I mean, they do that to recover their strength, to protect themselves from inauspicious omens and all these things in the weakened condition. But there's no such consideration for Rohini and Baladev, right? So, and also she had some grief for her husband, who, as far as she knows, is still in prison. He's just been released, but all her sorrow is forgotten. O Maharaj Parikshit, the home of Nanda Maharaj is eternally the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his transcendental qualities, the abode of Krishna and his qualities, and is therefore always naturally endowed with the opulence of all wealth. Yet, beginning from the Lord's appearance there, it became the place for the pastimes of the goddess of fortune. And in order to help us understand this better, Visvanath Cakravarti Thakur says, it's impossible for even Kuvera, who's the treasurer of the demigods, the most wealthy, to satisfy everyone's desires. How then was it possible for Nanda Maharaj to accomplish this? And this verse answers the question. Braj, which is Krishna's eternal place of residence, always increases Krishna's qualities by its very nature. And this started from the birth of Krishna. Krishna's home in Nandagram became the place of pastimes for all wealth. If all wealth began to play in Nanda's house, how is it possible that anything was lacking? And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, remember when Mahaprabhu became married, Shachi noticed that immediately their house, even with the first marriage with Lakshmi, that she said, oh, now this girl is here, our house has become fully opulent. Before, she was always worrying, they were kind of poor. They always have the necessities. Mahaprabhu made a point of that. But when his wife came, the goddess of fortune, everything came. Everything was uplifted and even more beautiful. So, who's the goddess of Vrindavan, Srimati Radhika, and her energies, her expansion, Jogamaya, Vrindadevi, Vrindavan becomes the playground of the original goddess of fortune. And all wealth, all beauty, all opulence, all joy. So Shukadev Goswami continues, thereafter, my dear King Parikshit, O best protector of the Kuru dynasty, Nanda Maharaj appointed the local cowherd men to protect Gokul, and then went to Mathura to pay the yearly taxes. Now this is a few days later. So we're going to stop here. But in the next few days when we have class, we're going to continue with this Leela. Because so much goes on, and help us understand the nature of Krishna's pastimes, the name-giving ceremony, very, very important. The killing of these early demons, all of that, very important. So we will stop here. Let me stop this recording. There we go. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to Sri Nanda Nandana, Yasoda Nandana, Shama Sundar, Gopinath, Sri Krishna in Vrindavan. All glories to all these Sambhu devotees, Gaur Premanande, Hari Bol.